With the K.
Hi, welcome to tonight's Shade Tree Commission meeting, March 10th, 2022. We're going to start off the agenda today with an election of officers. To my knowledge, Dave, do we only need to elect a chair, or are there other positions that need to be filled?
Typically, we only do the chair.
Okay. So, we need to elect a chair. Who would like to put forward
I would like
a
to
nomination?
nominate Chris Dahl.
Chris, would you accept that nomination? Would anybody else like to run in opposition?
Do we have to worry about David?
David
Never mind.
Ingram? No. No. So if Chris is willing to be president and to chair meetings, I would ask, is everybody in favor?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay, Chris, that means that you are now running this meeting tonight.
I have the agenda up, actually. Okay, normally when we go through these agenda items, we go through and establish a quorum, which we seem to have. Then we go through the other requirements that the Tree Commission does overlook. For example, Title 33, whether there's any tree permits or right-of-way issues or public land issues with our trees. There's no item for discussion, is that right, David?
That's correct. I don't have anything for the board.
Great, thank you. Title 37 is another area that we do have reign over, which is the landscape ordinance issues. Is there also no items for discussion there?
Well, we don't. I will note that the Shade Tree Commission approved Marietta Memorial Hospital, but they are considering revising their plans and they may resubmit. So if that's the case, it's possible you could see their landscape plans come back here. I don't know if they're not going to change, I wouldn't bother you again with it. But if there are any changes, I'll bring that back to the board.
Right, right.
And for the next meeting, or?
I don't know when it's going to be for sure. They have to go to Planning Commission, and they haven't done that yet. They're not ready to go. They may come on the April 7th Planning Commission for a communication, but I'm sure they don't have their site plan information complete yet.
Okay. I do have a question for Dave. Dave, any updates on the Pollinator garden plaques?
I sent some information to everybody. I don't know if it was this week or last week. I can't remember. My weeks are running together. I checked with Bee City USA, and they don't have any. We thought maybe they might have a plaque or something. We can create one. I would maybe suggest that this board could look at a draft and approve it. If we wanted to go with that, I think it's going to be about $15 per sign, which includes the little H-shaped metal stand. And I'd suggest that we would probably we need to have at least 10 signs just to have some in reserve, and that means that we need to have a purchase order in place to purchase those.
Didn't you suggest that we ask?
Yeah, there was a suggestion that we ask Passion Works if they'd be willing to make a design for us,
And
but
how much it would cost?
I have not done that, and I will check with them.
The mayor said that at one point too, when we were discussing about it in city council.
He's already done something about it?
No, he discussed it. That was one of the discussion items when we passed this for city council. where
I see.
the sign
I
line
see.
comes down.
Okay.
Right, so what we'd want to do is get in contact with
I think
Passion
that's such a
Works.
good
If they
idea.
need a purchase order, we'll create one of those, and then we'll get a draft of maybe a couple drafts of some signage that you would look at and approve.
a suggestion might be, I don't know how you feel about this, so we collect $25 for anybody who wants to have pollinator garden designation. If the signs cost $15, the city could keep the remaining $10 legitimately as an administrative cost, or perhaps we could give a donation to Passion Works for every sign. Or,
Yeah, I don't think we can, I'll have to check, but I don't think we can do that. The
Okay.
permit fees go into the general fund, and then they'd have to be dispersed back out of the general fund.
okay,
through
so
the
maybe it's
purchase
just a
order.
one-time
Yeah,
only design
Yeah.
fee would be better.
Yeah.
But we could ask for a budget.
Yes. And that,
It's something
that
we've been
will,
talking about for 10
you
years.
know what, that will be a agenda item in the future, is our budget as,
Yeah.
I think also, one of the things is there will be maybe some costs with education and pamphlets and posters and those sort of things that make a program like really fly. Something that the city needs to think more about. Anyway, okay.
Okay.
Maintenance of the tree canopy. Do we have any items for discussion there?
I don't have anything for the board.
I wanted to ask something. We were in process at one point or another of trying to do some surveying of spots in our areas that needed help. And I think there's a problem with the right-of-way thing, because I don't think it's the same citywide, right? Isn't the right-of-way
Different
determined?
across the city, like 2 feet versus 4 feet sort of thing? Yes.
I think different streets and different parts of the
Correct.
neighborhoods are different ways.
Right.
How do we
That's
find
part of
out
the
about
reason the
that?
code office looks at these, is it's our responsibility to determine where the right-of-way is, and I can do that.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, I have the ability to look and see where the right-of-way is. We have information in our office to do that, so it's part of our duty to determine whether that tree is located in the city's public right-of-way or if it's on private
Well,
property.
the survey had to do with finding spots that trees could go, good
Okay.
spots.
That's- yes.
Where a tree
Oh,
could
that's
thrive.
different. You're talking about planting trees.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Which is something that we can do better at.
And that's how you can
Yeah.
improve the canopy.
Well, exactly, and I think that that's a discussion that we need to have coupled with what Mary's going to talk about and the comprehensive plan process that, you know, all the information from that.
Yeah, I'm not asking for anything to happen tonight. I just want to
Right.
know in my own head where to look. How do I know where a place, if a place is in the right of way or not?
Right. I think the safest thing to say is call the city.
Okay.
And because,
Yeah, David's saying if you need to know if
I'd
a
be the
tree is in the
person,
right of
yeah.
way, he will let you know.
A tree space is in the right of way.
Yes, a
Yes.
tree space.
Yes.
so,
And I did hand to, or email to Catherine Ann, our list of possible places for planting trees, which was part of the November minutes. And so I sent that on to her, that's her responsibility. So the list that you guys put together for planting trees did go to her.
And that's Catherine, who is that? Is it
Am I
Jordan?
correct, Catherine?
Catherine Ann Jordan.
Yeah.
She's
Oh, okay.
the Parks and Rec Director.
Right.
Yeah.
okay, yeah, she was here last week.
Yeah.
I think that also because we are kind of looking at our processes and our priorities and tree planting issues, and the, that kind of goes with the Shade Tree Commission Academy that you've been talking about.
Right.
Those sort of, I think that we're going to kind of be leapfrogging with some of these issues before we can map them all out and stuff, so it's going to kind of be ad hoc for a little bit. But going forward, I think that we can do a lot of the on-the-ground planning and stuff from some really good information that Mary and stuff will bring. Something for further, just to be in the minutes for some other discussion, tree canopy maintenance, do we have best management practices that everybody has to work under for doing tree maintenance, especially in the right-of-way?
Yeah, to my knowledge, we do not.
That's a good thing that we can recommend. Right on. Can you put that as a future action item? Thank you. It's just more make for everybody. Okay, before we go on to the next discussion item, I'm sorry, I did not introduce our newest member of the Shade Tree Commission, which is Catherine Zepp. And I want to say sorry, but it's so exciting to have you on you have so much knowledge and history of so many, of the ridges and all your work. It's very exciting to have you with us.
It's very nice to be here.
Thank you. And how cute is it with Ben? You look out to say that. So, okay. So most of our action items are under 6 discussion items. Last month we had different homework, and so some of the homework came and is now on our discussion. So, update on any of the action items from February's meeting. Does anybody have any updates?
Okay, how about if I just go through them and I'll read them out? Okay. So, David, you were going to research the plaque options, which you have done. Thank you. And your further action item will be a look at Passionworks,
yes.
right? Okay. Other action items I am looking through. Chris, you were going to review code and suggest changes to shade tree, which would then provide suggestions to David R. And this was regarding holding contractors responsible for the removal of trees in the right-of-way.
Right. That's the best management practices that we just talked about.
Has anything happened with that situation?
I think that right now we have to look at the contractor language, make sure that all tree contractors have to be registered with the city under that program, and look at what different types of requirements that we have in the right-of-way for tree maintenance, which includes, one of the things that I've heard from people is they don't grind the stump away, they grind it sort of away, and then when you go to do something there, it's a big pit of hard. And so you can't plant a tree. So,
Well, I was thinking more about the county, whether they were going to be responsible for paying.
oh, about that, I have no idea, because that's totally administrative.
So Chris, this action item was assigned to you. Is this something that you're working on, or are you suggesting that we have a future meeting to discuss?
We're going to have a future meeting to discuss. I will probably send some ideas and recommendations from other groups that are out there.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Andy was going to ask Andrew whether or not there would be Arbor Day activities this year. I did not receive a response. Do you know anything?
I think we are going to be working with Catherine Ann in the Arts Park and Rec Department to work with activities. I think that's occurring at the same time as Earth Day. So I think that we're going to coordinate those. I will find out and get back.
We have Mary with us that can help us talk about it later.
Well, and the idea for our Arbor Day celebration, too, that I put out as a proposal to go with all this stuff.
Right. And so we will discuss that. Okay, with Mary. The action was for Andy to check whether Tree City USA documentation mandates that Shade Tree Commission have a role in Arbor Day.
Ann knows that.
Yes,
I know
yes,
that.
I responded to that even though the question wasn't to me. Yeah, you guys do. It's one of your charges.
Sorry, clarification. I don't believe that that's true.
Oh, yes.
I believe that you would like to see Shade Tree have a role, but I do not believe that it was written into the documentation that we must have a role.
What documentation are you referring to?
This is when we had our documentation sent in for approval for us to be a Tree City USA.
Okay.
So my question is does it say in that documentation that Shade Tree Commission must have a role?
It says...
Because it is not codified.
Well, it's not codified, but there are 4 standards that a city has to meet to be a Tree City USA.
Yes.
And, do you want me to go through those 4 standards?
I remember the 4
Okay.
standards, I'm pretty sure, and it says that there must be a Shade Tree Commission. But it
And
does
there
not,
must be an Arbor Day program, and typically...
and I understand that typically one equals the other.
Yeah.
The reason why you're getting such pushback from me is because it is not in code, and no one on the council, when we talked last time, wanted to step forward and take that activity on. They wanted to participate as an individual in the activities, but there was a reluctance for a shade tree to accept another role. Now that we have more people here, it might be possible that we say, yes, this is something that we really feel strongly about and that we want to do. But I don't want the city to make the assumption that Shade Tree is going to do this without Shade Tree saying, yes, we are going to do it,
Well,
unless it's codified, in which case we have to do it.
We also need to define what the role is going to be. I mean, there's nothing that
Yes.
says that we have to initiate the program and attend at every activity. We can tailor it to meet our own needs.
Yes. I agree with that, and it can either be that Shade Tree takes a formal role and says this is what we would like to do with, or it could be that individuals from Shade Tree act as individuals. My pushback, once again, is to say it is not a codified Shade Tree responsibility.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
So I don't think that every activity a tree commission does should or could be codified. A tree commission serves at the pleasure of the city administration. You are appointed by the mayor. And if Tree City USA is important to him and important to the city administration,
Yes.
it seems like you guys do what is necessary to keep that designation. And Arbor Day is at the heart of being a tree. It's the easiest thing that a Tree City USA can do every year. And it's actually the most fun thing. It's the least controversial thing. I am shocked that we're discussing this.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
the
would
reason-
urge you to rethink some of the priorities, because that's the easy stuff. And
But I think, Ann, what happened is that Ron was liked that role and took it
Yes.
on. And we really never did much with it except a few things he'd ask us to do. But it was not a empowerment. We weren't really strongly involved with it, ever.
Well, maybe
Yeah,
we can
that's true.
table this discussion
Okay.
until we talk
think
with
that-
Mary, and then we can talk about how we can interface with
Yes.
her
Right.
group.
And also with the discussion that David has about our roles put in through our organic resolution, they're always changeable too,
Right.
if we wish to.
Yeah.
If I could just add one, and maybe Ann
Yeah.
can help me with this. The city, this region's Tree City USA awards ceremony is going to be May the 6th in Zanesville. The city staff would really like to see the Shade Tree attend that, if at all possible, and so we're willing to pay the fees and sign the board up if they would be interested in doing that. I just need to know who would like to go. It's on May the 6th in Seacrest Auditorium. You can help me with that maybe,
yeah,
Ann. And
yeah,
it's
it'll
at
be a
noon,
great
is that
event.
right?
And for those that are new to being on a tree commission, this is your chance to meet other tree commissioners from other cities. You're going to meet mayors, you're going to meet service directors, maybe not too many code enforcement
No.
directors, but it really will help you. Some of this stuff will start to crystallize and be more clear.
Where
And
is this Seacrest?
this will be May 6th. You guys should have gotten an invitation. I sent an email, but it was one of those group emails, so it might be in your spam folder. It is an event that you register for, and it's $25 a person. That covers your lunch, and there'll be some tree seedling giveaways and some educational presentations and such.
Is it in Columbus?
No, this is at Seacrest in Zanesville.
Oh, Zanesville. Sorry.
Yeah. Every year, different Tree City USA communities take turns hosting the regional events.
Right.
So Athens hosted it years ago.
We
We
had
had it
here,
at
yeah.
the rec center. It was really, I learned more about the star, the planting
star
at the
planting,
rec
planting
center
star.
that day.
Yeah.
Is that a Saturday?
What is it? Is it like a conference or?
Yeah, you
ceremony
could.
or-
Yeah, it starts at noon, and there'll
It's
be
usually
a
kind of
light
an
lunch.
in-service too, where there's somebody usually there teaching us something.
Yeah, there'll be some presenters. Every Catherine, every year it's different. Some years, like one year, we had it at the Wilds, and we toured the Wilds, and we spent the time, talking about trees and animals and all those things. Next year, we're most likely going to do it at Vinton Furnace. We're going to take a wagon ride through the woods and talk about forest issues. And that's only because there's only, 12 to 13 Tree City USAs in our region of the state. So we run out of, I try to make it exciting and new every year. But Zanesville, they offered to host this year. They're celebrating their 25th year as a Tree City USA. They're dealing with a lot of the same problems you guys are and the same opportunities you guys have as well. So it'll be really good if you guys can make time that day and get there.
So that's a Friday, right?
It is a Friday.
Was it the 6th? Is that what you said?
It's May 6th. And, a lot of times if you carpool, like, it's a chance for you guys to get to know each other better and to have an adventure. There's also some incredible parks in Zanesville. We're going to try to, there's a place called Mission Oaks Gardens. It was started by one of the tree commissioners in Zanesville. And we're going to try to arrange to have like a morning tour before it, if people, like an optional thing, if people want to meet early and take a little hike through that area.
So do you have the address or the?
Yes, you guys all got an email from me.
Send it to us again.
I will do that too.
And if you just let me know if you would like to participate, I'll do all the paperwork. I'll pay for the city will pay for all the fees and everything, and we'll get you registered.
Okay, great. I will say regretfully, I cannot attend. My big plant sale is the next day, so.
And that's
an
okay.
anticipated
Not
thing.
everybody,
Yeah,
like some.
that one I would have done. I've been to them before, and it's very worthwhile.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I did enjoy it.
Great.
Okay, other action items. Sorry, going through. Okay, Shade Tree members were encouraged to provide comments to Andrew about the letter to property owners about trees in the right-of-way.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be here.
Did anybody do that besides
Yeah.
me? Okay.
I don't know whether you noticed there was one sentence that was not
Yes.
complete.
Yes.
I didn't know whether he had ideas for that or not. I
asked him and I was like,
my ideas, but
what's up with that? Yeah, I remember that. Okay. And the action item was going to be the city was going to tell Chris whether or not they thought developing informational materials for the property owners would be helpful.
Right. That will come up later.
Okay. More action items. If the city decides to replace the trees at the county courthouse, then Shade Tree recommended that the city reach out to Ann and to Shade Tree. Has there been any further discussions about the trees that were removed at the courthouse?
I haven't heard anything, no.
Okay.
has anybody looked at the tree list lately? Are the trees on our list mostly natives?
That's something that was required by the update to the
Yeah.
landscaping ordinance.
Did we get that done?
I don't know. That's something that we need. I think that there's a bunch of
I know that Ann
like
gave us a
history.
list. I just
Yeah,
didn't know
I
whether-
shared a
Right.
big long
Well, I think that
list.
there's a bunch of lists of stuff that we probably just need to update.
Yes.
and sort of-
All,
Organized and.
yeah, so actually we do have the list of native trees. It's associated with the Pollinator garden page now. So it's all there
Are they
now.
all natives?
We give a separate list of native trees in addition to pollinators in general. So yes, that list does exist and is up on the webpage. Chris, you have an action item to review code language and suggest changes to shade tree that will provide more specificity based on planting and prunings of trees. So that's,
So that's that,
we'll roll that
best-
into
best
the
management
maintenance.
practices and those sort of things. Yeah.
Okay, I think I got all the action items. We had a lot. Right, but it sounds like we still have a lot that need to be done. So, that's it.
Thank you. So I think that this kind of rolls right into some of the discussion about the duties and responsibilities that that David wants to bring forward. Thank you. Go for it, David.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things you guys asked was that, or I suggested, I think, last meeting, was that I could go through the codified ordinance and spell out what I think the duties and responsibilities are for the Shade Tree Commission. And I broke it into 3 pieces.
Yep.
Your primary duties, the way that it's codified in our city ordinances, is that you are to determine the problems and needs associated with the city tree planting program. Number 2, to recommend the types of trees that should be planted on city property. Number 3, to provide information to the public about trees and tree maintenance. And then the 4th is to conduct regular meetings. So those are the 4 primary duties as codified for this board. There's some secondary duties that are also spelled out, and that is to work with the easy for me to say, Safety Service Director for pruning, planting, removing trees in the right-of-way. So you would make recommendations to the Service Safety Director regarding that. To maintain a list of qualified companies to perform tree work. You are to maintain a list of native trees, shrubs, and plants acceptable to the city for planting. You are to maintain a list of invasive and noxious plants. Also to maintain a list of pollinator-friendly plants acceptable to the city for planting. And then to review Title 41 site plan landscaping and make recommendations to Planning Commission for the approval of the landscaping plans. Those are the, I'd say, secondary duties under the primary. And then I have some recommended things at the bottom.
Okay, so question. All right. Okay, so the removal, we do that. The list of qualified companies that perform tree work.
Do we have one of those?
I don't think I've
we
ever
do.
seen a list of,
The only thing that we have is the contractors who are registered with the city to do
Yeah,
any sort of
the
work.
City of Athens Code Office requires any contractor in the city to be registered. But that would be a plumber, an electrician, a roofer, and we require those people to be registered. But it does include anybody that would do tree work. So I can give you a list of those people to help start that list of qualified, of who you guys consider qualified tree removal people.
I think that some of the list also was from who we get plants from and kind of the whole program sort of thing.
Well, are they all registered arborists or the?
No, we have
I'm
very
just
few
curious.
registered arborists here.
how does Shade Tree determine who is a qualified company?
To work on the right-of-way,
Yes.
they can determine it however they want.
I would recommend that in a lot of cities, they do have recommendations, and there are some real simple things like making sure they carry a certain amount of insurance, liability insurance, make sure that they have up-to-date documentation that they are paying into workers' compensation.
That's
And
some
number
of the
3,
requirements, that the registration program that we do from the city. And so, but we could determine whoever works on our right-of-way have certain qualifications, follow certain sort of guidelines, but like best management practices that we would adopt as what we want to have happen on the right-of-way. This is not for private property,
Right.
you know, so let's separate those. We have a lot of control over our right-of-way, and we should take it. And we should make sure that people who are knowledgeable, bonded, and has a good record work in our right-of-way.
Agreed. So, out of the 6 that are listed in the second group, we do all of them except for that one. So it sounds like that's a major action item for us.
Well, I think it goes back to the best management practices, which
The International Society of Arboriculture maintains a list. It's simply treesaregood.org, find an arborist.
Yep.
You search
I
on
use it a lot, yeah, and they do have a lot of good materials there. It's a good idea.
I question too, not to open a can of worms, but, you know, plumbers that have to register with the city are working on private property, on private, so I can imagine that even arborists who are working on private property probably have to register.
Yes, they do.
So that would be worthwhile, you know, because it does protect property owners, you know, they're hiring
Right.
somebody and it helps ensure that they are
Right.
reputable and can
David,
do
did you
what they
say
say
they
they're
weren't
gonna do.
arborists?
I'm sorry?
Did you say they weren't registered?
Yeah, I personally don't think it's necessary to be an arborist, to be a professional tree trimmer or
Most of
to
them
be
are
able
not.
to do. But
Yes.
there should be some qualifications.
Yeah.
For those folks.
Okay.
And it might just be, yeah, insurance and you know,
Right.
workers' comp.
Yeah,
and-
exactly.
What else besides insurance?
Workers' comp, but also following the best management practice, like the ANSI standards. ANSI standards are the American National Science Institute. They have standards for all kinds of stuff, everything from engineering to everything, including tree care. And some of it's safety related, but also related to how trees grow and, you know, protecting the investment that we have in trees. So we could definitely come up with some simple, clear
Yeah,
guidelines and stuff.
that sounds like something that has to happen quickly. Okay, and then the uncodified stuff?
So one of the things we looked at was things that we thought would be would really fill those needs in the first four primary duties. So the pollinator yard, of
May I
course you
stop
have
you there?
I'm sorry?
I believe it is codified.
Not that.
It says that that Shade Tree is responsible for reviewing the applications.
I'd like you to. I don't think that's codified in the ordinance.
I thought it was. We need to check.
It really looks like it's just the Safety Service Director's approval, but I'd really like to have you guys
Okay, because
do that.
all right, because the mayor basically told me that I was in charge of that, so. Last time I listened to him. Yeah,
In charge of what?
reviewing the
pollinator yard
applications.
permit. And that's
And
why I
bringing
put it
them
on
to
the,
Shade
that's
Tree.
why I put it on the permit application was so that you guys have that opportunity to do that, I really think. And especially since you guys are managing the pollinator-friendly plants, that list of pollinator-friendly plants, that list of invasive and noxious weeds, that really does fit well into what your duties and responsibilities are. The second one is the celebration tree permit review and recommendation. Again, there's nothing in the codified ordinance that requires Shade Tree to approve that, but we sure would like your recommendation and review on what type of trees are going to be planted, how big should the tree be? Do you want to whip it, or do you want a 3-inch? Where they're located?
I sent out, there's a pamphlet from the program that was used to kind of codify the Celebration Tree program. Billings, I think that it works really well. It goes through their,
Do you have more of these?
that's just, we can get more. But the Arts, Parks, and Recreation would be the people who would say
Exactly.
where we want them planted. But it's a really nice program. It also has the trees at $425. And that's something that goes back to discussing
Yeah.
what we talked about before.
So, for the Celebration Tree program, what has the city written up about it at this point?
We just have the permit, that's all we have.
Okay, and, all right, and so the permit exists.
It's an application.
Yeah,
An
but it's not
application.
actually up on the webpage, is it
No,
right
not
now?
at this point. I'm a little bit behind in the amount of staff that I have. I'm short-staffed, and I have been for a while, so we have it available, but it's a fillable PDF. I'll get it up as soon as I can.
So if
I would say that you need help in doing sort of things having to do with websites and design and putting out information. That may be part of our,
Well, David,
Budget.
if we could just get the PDF of it, we can put it on our webpage.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a fillable PDF, and I believe I talked to your staff member and asked for it, so happy to put it up on our site if you get it to me.
I will, yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Just for clarification in the minutes and for me, tell me what the celebration tree program is.
It's like a memorial tree program where you would have a tree that you would purchase and a plaque, and then the city would plant it in a location that works for everybody, and then we'll maintain that tree for 3 years, water it, and make sure that that it stays healthy for the first 3 years that it's planted.
And the cost is $425?
It's
Well,
We
$100.
haven't decided that.
Well, it's codified as, I think, $100. If you want to change that, you would need to modify the ordinance to
And we
change that
did
fee.
say that we wanted to modify it.
We haven't come
And
up to what the price.
So the
is.
person requesting this can request also the place the park they want to put in.
The city, the way the code's written, the city chooses where the location is, and we want to do that for a couple of reasons, because we want to make sure it's on a piece of property that we have and will continue to have. As a matter of fact, I've only had one request for a celebration tree, and they wanted to put it at the ball fields, or the soccer fields. The city doesn't own that; they just lease that property, and they don't know the future of those soccer fields. So you could put it out there, and then years from now, because a tree can last 100 years or more, and that the city may not have access to that property in the future. So we want to have control over where those should go, and we think the best people to do that would be our Arts Park and Rec folks.
Okay, and at the meeting, we had talked about how $100 was too little, and Andy Stone, if I remember correctly, said that he and Catherine Ann would determine what they thought was a price. Has that been done?
I don't know the answer to that.
Because I'm reluctant to put it up on the website advertising it at a ridiculously low price. So
We'll
is
have a run of people who.
is that something you can catch up with them with? I mean,
Yeah.
our recommendation was a minimum, I think it was 2 something.
Well, hearing turns out to be.
Belgrade has a
75.
program and theirs is 400.
Yeah, so.
You know, and I would not codify, I mean, that's a perfect example of not putting specific stuff in ordinance. What I would say is, in your program, cost is determined by the city service director or the parks director based on market,
Yeah.
conditions and.
I
the-
agree, and that way we don't have to go through
Well, that would
council.
actually be up to city council to decide if they want to allow the safety service director to.
Or I was just throwing, or
But yeah,
parks
so
director.
that would be up to city
Ben,
council.
that sounds like an action item for you.
I can
So-
totally bring that up.
Yeah, so Shade Tree is recommending that we take it out of code and that we put in some language that allows some discretion. And then David would be able to work with Parks and Rec to figure out what they thought was a reasonable price.
Would that be in Title I?
Yes, Title I.
So.
Okay.
that'd be
Well, I know the
TBD.
cost of trees changes all the time.
All the time.
Right.
What
So
I thought was
you
gonna
can
be-
actually put a date to be determined yearly or something.
Yeah,
To give it a little more.
Yeah.
So Belgrade did theirs a lot more informally. It's just, it was not codified at all. The mayor decided people had donated for years, they wanted a tree for so-and-so and they would plant it in the park. But they felt like they wanted to have a little bit more control over the type of tree and where they were planted. So they do have a program. It's I forget how it's worded, but it's with just 3 or 4 sentences. Request is made. The mayor and this council refer to the tree commission for guidance on the species and
Yeah.
the location. And, the decision is made by, I think it's service director there, or maybe it's the mayor.
Now, obviously on the permit, you gotta state a price, but if it's not in code, then you can change that price.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and they have just a little brochure that they give people.
Okay.
There needs to be a reference in Title I for that,
A reference to what?
to the price.
No, it doesn't. What we're saying is we want to remove the price from code and just say that it is determined by the code director based on
Right.
Current cost.
current costs.
I think we have to look at the language. That's just, because if it is referred to Title I in the landscaping ordinance for this particular
Yeah.
program, then we have to go to Title I and we would just put in, this price is to be determined yearly by the.
But it's not a
service.
we, it's a he. Ben's gonna do that, yeah, so.
But it needs to be looked at.
That's actually going to be in two places, Councilmember Zip. It's going to be in Title 37, where it says a fee established by separate ordinance, and then in Title I, which actually establishes that ordinance.
Thank you. I'm actually scrolling down through it right now.
You know, the other
All our
thing that makes
fees,
it-
all the fees that we have as a city is going into Title I. So that's going to be something, and so we just have to refer to that.
The cost of the tree itself depends on the size.
Yes.
So we can offer people a range maybe.
Yeah, actually, the price of the tree, though, is pretty minimal compared to maintenance. It's actually, the planting and the maintenance is much more expensive than the cost of the tree, it turns out.
Well, trees can sometimes,
Hundreds
if
of
they're fairly
dollars.
large, can get pretty high.
Yep.
Except that we have a
that's-
tree bank, so therefore, we don't pay for any trees.
As we go on. So, Dave, any other,
So the last two pieces in here of my, what I call uncodified but recommended Shade Tree Commission duties, a little controversial, but I think it fits well into the other duties and responsibilities of the commission is the Arbor Day celebration, proclamation, and the Tree City USA application and submission.
I agree. I'd like to see us do it. I just would like to see commissioners step forward and say that they would like to take that on. So, at this point, do we introduce our guest and start talking about Arbor Day?
yes. Well, actually, one last thing. I would like David to describe exactly what our tree bank is and how it works and what is in it and what we can expect from it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So currently, we recently codified the ordinances to actually have an amount associated with the trees that are being banked. Now, this is one thing where the Shade Tree Commission has complete control over whether or not to allow the banking of trees. If the Shade Tree Commission decides to do that, then the auditor has set aside a fund specific for this. This money, this banked money that would go back into city through planting trees or maintaining trees. That
I'd like to make a clarification. The money that we bring in from the tree bank does not go to the Shade Tree Commission for
No, it does
planting
not.
trees.
Nope.
It actually goes into several different funds, or it has several potential uses.
yes.
And when I spoke to the mayor, he wanted to make it absolutely clear to Shade Tree Commission that it is not our money.
Yes.
And that we would have to ask for a separate budget.
Yeah, so the Safety Service Director has control over that budget, where that money goes, once it becomes banked. And it can, as I said, it can be used for planting, maintaining, but it really should be part of something have to do with trees.
Actually, not according to code.
No,
Once again.
it
it's-
should be,
it's-
though.
It's a, yeah, but code doesn't say that. It talks about planting plants, including non-trees. And it also talks about removal of invasives, and there are 4 different things. I can't remember what they all are, but trees are only one of the 4, which
correct.
was a disappointment when I read that.
So there currently is no funds in the tree bank because the commission hasn't since that new legislation came into effect, has not banked any trees to date. I will tell you that there is a agreement between the city of Athens and Menards that was originally 370 trees that they promised to provide to the city. The city would have to plant them, but they would provide those to us. We took 37 of those trees in 2021, and they've been planted. The remainder, the amount of trees that are still in that system is 333, so 370 minus 37, 333 trees that we can ask the Menards to provide to us. And I thought they did a pretty good job last time.
They did. The trees were wonderful, and they were very helpful getting it to places. The issue that we have is it's great to have
33 left.
33 left, right? But if you think about it, it costs approximately $150 each to plant them and to maintain them for the first year. And so we definitely want to use the trees in the tree bank, but that's a significant budget in order to plant and maintain them.
So we, for the planting of the 37 trees, we used, I believe Parks personnel to do that planting and installation.
We did on Carroll, and then at West State Street, I
Part of the contractors.
believe we used the contractor, yeah.
Yes.
I wonder, didn't we talk once about the possibility, or at least thinking about some way of doing away with tree bank? You know,
It's
of
actually
insisting
been
that people follow
codified
the
now, so
plan.
but it's entirely up to this board of whether you want to, it's entirely up to this board on whether you want to do that or not. So you can say, no, I don't want to bank any trees, but that's your decision as a board.
Well, Nancy, what happened with Menards was unusual. Rather than asking them to pay into money, real money into an account, they just promised to give us trees. Moving forward, people have to pay for every tree that we put in, allow them to put into the tree
Which means that
bank.
we get no trees.
Well, it means
Because the
that.
money doesn't belong to us or to any trees. It belongs
Well,
to the city to decide what they want to use with it.
Exactly, and so we have to work with the city to ensure that when they do get money into the tree bank, that money is used to plant the trees that we have from Menards. And I talked to the mayor last year when Shade Tree asked me to talk to him and to Andrew, and Andrew said that he thought we would have an additional $5,000 this year to plant trees. Not from the tree bank, but just money that the city was going to set aside for us. So that means that we can plant approximately
But
37
do we
trees
have that?
again.
Do we have that money?
Do we have that money?
I think that we need to think about a official budget that we need to put forward too.
Right, but the problem
With this.
is that we can't put an official budget forward now for this year. We're past that deadline, and the only thing that we could negotiate post facto was to say, Andrew, can you pull $5,000 out of your already allocated budget for trees? And the mayor said, make it so. That's all I can tell you. So yeah, moving forward, we need a real budget, but it has to be put in
What is the deadline
October,
now?
November,
October.
in order for it to be active for the following year. Is that right, Chris?
I think that we could probably look at potential, if the mayor has budgeted $5,000 for this, then we should have it in our line now, instead of it being floating around, because otherwise it will flitter off
Yeah, we'll go floating around.
into whatever.
Yep.
So,
On a verbal, we have
You
it
know,
from
yes,
Andrew
we
and
would
Steve
like-
that we have $5,000 for planting trees.
right. There are some outstanding properties out there still that we are working with. I think that now that we have the tree bank established, it will be easier to make sure everybody pays up and does the things they need to, so. Okay.
Okay.
Any other things from,
Well, hold on, just as a
Questions?
point of a clarification, are you saying that there are outstanding fees that have not been collected?
there are outstanding issues with some property owners, I think would be fair to say.
Is that correct? Is code going to prosecute property owners?
That would not be up to me. If the city wants to do that, that would be. up
I don't
to-
think prosecute would be a good word,
Oh,
so.
I'm sorry, I'm
Negotiate
just
with them?
trying to clarify. I didn't know that there were any outstanding issues with property owners with city right away.
With some-
That would pertain to the tree bank.
There are other issues before David got here with some of the other people, so.
With some of the other people. What are you talking about? Is it just, we don't want to discuss this right now, is that what you're saying?
There are other issues of people not doing trees that we would like to discuss, in the future, so. I think that-
Oh, okay.
Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
Anything
So-
else?
Just seems to be a lot of streams of information that comes into this group. I'm not sure where any of them come from.
Well, I think that is one issue that we've had, because most of us are pretty new to it, and that there's, like best management practices that we don't necessarily know are part of the tree maintenance program, and we don't know whether there's a tree plan out there, and those other things. I think that it's a point that we can kind of say, things are kind of up in the air with COVID and everything, and that we can go on and make sure that we're doing all the other things that may be kind of loose out there. Does that make sense?
No.
No,
Okay.
not at all.
It's a good point when you have a lot of energy and newness on a board to do and look and make sure everything is up to snuff.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay,
I agree.
thank you.
so, anything else there? Okay, there's the proposed Arbor Day plan and Arbor Day and Athens Beautification Day and all those sort of programs that was brought forward. I think this is a good time to introduce Mary Reed.
You don't want to
So-
talk about Noble Day?
Well, we'll talk that about. So, as we know, Arbor Day is coming up. We do, I think, want to do something for Arbor Day.
I got this in the mail today. It's the
Oh.
50th anniversary.
It was the 50th, awesome, that's awesome. So, some of the things we talked about last time, super easy, is doing some plantings, and then some public relations sort of things. So, I put out a project that would include a formal tree planting in honor of certain groups that we can talk about. I suggested people in healthcare and the victims of COVID and Black Lives Matter for
Oh, and we
a,
were talking earlier about the possibility of also recognizing those people that have been on the commission for quite a few years.
Just a point of clarification. When is Arbor Day this year? One, and
Yeah.
two, isn't there an advisory board that has responsibility for overseeing this event?
we are the
Well, let me
advisory
tell you
board.
when Arbor Day is any day your mayor proclaims it to be.
Oh, goody.
Yeah, so Athens, there have been years where everybody forgot about it until like November 29th. And seriously, like you had it.
Seriously? Oh, and then we can
Because-
just do it then, so
because
it's
the
not
tree-
like a national, This
I
is a day
wouldn't
thing.
advise it. It's cutting it close because your Tree City USA applications due December 1st.
Got
So
it.
it was, I
but
think
it's not
it
a
caused
set
stress.
day. It's
No,
not
it's not,
like,
because-
International
There-
Milk and Cookies Day,
Well,
which actually
the
exists.
National Arbor Day is
Oh.
always the last Friday in April, at least
Okay.
for this part of the country. But you guys can proclaim it and do it anytime you want.
Oh,
Mary,
okay.
what role are you playing with Arbor Day at this point?
At this point, none. I'm here to
Right.
talk about
So-
us working together.
Right, and so what I would like to propose is that sometime in the month of April, with the other celebrations that we are doing in April, meaning Athens Beautification Day, which Mary's worked with before, and the Earth Day celebrations, that we can weave trees and celebration of trees with all those other different projects. So one of the projects is doing the official tree planting for like a memorial celebration of groups that deserve attention and love in our community. The Hearts, we love our trees program, which we've talked about and should be fairly cheap. And then something that would help to get a lot more people involved, and that's what Mary's going to talk about. Her group is the Arbor Day Committee, and they've been around for a number of years. We've been doing work on and off with them through Athens Beautification Day program and everything.
So there is a committee.
It is a committee that's not a city committee.
Correct. We're not.
How about that?
we're
It's a
not-
volunteer committee.
community.
Got
And
it. It's
so-
a community committee. Got it.
Yes, and so we would like to introduce Mary and talk about the potentials of us being able to work very closely together to do even more Arbor Day celebration and tree celebration sort of things together.
Well, what do you think of this idea of weaving it in with other things?
Sounds great. We're here to help.
Huh?
Sounds great. We are here to help.
Can you talk about your committee a little bit?
I would love to. That's what I'm here to do.
Yay.
So again, I'm Mary Reed. I'm a member of the Athens Arbor Day Committee. We are a group of Athens citizens who came together and kind of revived the committee. It actually existed many, many years ago in Athens. We have a mission to plant trees with public benefit in Athens. And we reformed in 2017. And so far we've planted fewer than 100 street trees, or trees, mostly street trees, some elsewhere, like in some of the cemeteries. We've given away about 450 trees.
Wow.
And I can guarantee none of those trees cost anywhere near $150 to plant. Just added that to the notes, talking about
Yeah.
you know,
By the
what
way,
it
the
costs for the
trees from
city to do it.
Menards, they're 2-inch diameter. That's why. They're
Yeah.
approximately 400-pound trees.
Yeah, yeah, those are big trees.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of reintroducing us because in 2017, some other members of the committee came to just introduce ourselves to the Shade Tree Commission. But if anything, maybe one of you was on the commission at the time. So you've had some turnover. So I'm here to reintroduce ourselves and to let you know that we would love to kind of formalize, if we can, our relationship with the Athens Shade Tree Commission. We have been really doing a lot of the pieces with getting trees planted. We've been raising money. We've been working with the city planting by planting to get approval to plant. The pandemic, of course, really crushed some of our plans to do some tree plantings, but other things have just have made it go more slowly than I think it has to if we do organize a little bit better together. So, for example, if we can use the tree bank to purchase trees, then we're not spending our time raising money to buy trees. If we could do something like a master canopy plan, I just named it that, and really look at citywide, for starters, of where we want to see some trees planted, that would be great. We wouldn't be
That would
doing
fit
that
in right with what we were
piecemeal.
saying.
We wouldn't be doing piecemeal approvals and discussions for every time we want to plant a tree. And that's
So
really my
where is your
intro.
financing from?
What's that?
Where is your financing from?
Well, so far we've gotten some money from CASA. We got in on their TIP program, We actually do have 501c3 status. Our fiscal sponsor is the Athens Near Northside Neighborhood Association. So we got some tip money from CASA. We've gotten donations when we've given away trees. We've had some landlords purchase trees if they went onto their property. So,
Does the National Arbor Day group, do they fund any of the activities?
you know, I don't know if they do. We're not really officially organized with them. And do you know if the previous Athens Arbor Day Committee was, and that's how it got that name?
No, they were not affiliated with the
No, we just
the
have a very
National Arbor Day
similar. We just
Foundation.
have a very similar name.
Yeah, but the Arbor Day Foundation does, I mean, there are periodically grant opportunities that come up.
Yeah, and we
Mary?
could work on grants, but I really like this tree bank idea a lot better for efficiency of getting trees planted. So,
I have an idea.
oh, could I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
Which is, I mentioned we've planted fewer than 100 trees so far in several years. I think if we can really get it together to get like the master plan, get the tree bank going, we could do more like 100 trees in a year. If we could just really concentrate our efforts on the spring planting, the fall planting, getting the volunteers, showing them how to plant a tree, and you're right about the size, you know, the smaller, the easier. I really think we can get a lot more done.
We might be able to ask Menards to give us smaller trees, but for some reason it was written in that we were getting these huge trees.
And in some cases, you do need a larger tree, you know, for it to really survive the many things that could really get to it. But there are plenty of places where a smaller one will do great.
So here's a thought. We, the city, is looking for one more shade tree commissioner. Would somebody from your group be willing to serve on shade tree so that way we could formalize the relationship between the two groups?
Yeah, I do think that could happen. And I was even thinking of asking Chris to be a member of our group. We live in the same neighborhood, and we were talking the other day. For this, I was thinking the same thing you are, Roxanne.
That would be
Which is if she becomes a member of our group, we'll have a more formal relationship.
cross-pollination,
establishing,
haha, sorry.
memorandum of understanding to kind of incorporate their mission and their energy into our Arbor Day celebrations, so that not only do we do a, you know, a celebration tree celebration, but we also do all the other things behind it, meaning giving trees away to people, teaching people how to.
There's
how to,
only
you know.
one issue that we're gonna have is that when we do tree bank trees, they have to be used, I believe, in the city right away.
There are plenty of city right-of-ways here
So
that don't have
as long as
trees.
we can
And that
work
could be
with
written
that,
into a memorandum of understanding.
that would
which
be
Right.
great.
I think
Yeah.
that would be an even better way of kind of codifying our
I would love
relationship.
to see us use
So Mary and
Menards
I
Tree
will
Bank
Work on that
as soon as possible.
memorandum.
Okay, yeah, we will. And
So-
my
Thank you.
master tree canopy plan could easily identify that as well. Where are the places we'd like to see trees?
brilliant.
Which ones are on city right-of-way?
At this point, then, we'll pass your name into the administration and
Well,
Let's,
see what happens.
I think that she needs to maybe talk to her group and get a volunteer.
yeah, I was gonna say,
I
you
thought
can,
And
wanted
just
to do
be,
volunteer.
no. And.
Or it might be the other way, the somebody liaisons with them. You know,
Oh,
somebody-
I would actually love to have it both ways,
Yes.
if possible, but the person does have to live within the city.
yeah, all of our core members right now live within the city.
But that would be brilliant, because I think that when we had this whole discussion about Tree City USA and Arbor Day, and everybody was feeling overwhelmed, and we were like, well, let's expand our group. Well, if we can expand our group with experts in a particular area where we would like to expand, that really helps us, right?
Right.
So, yay.
So
This is
we
wonderful.
will work on a memorandum at least,
Great.
and then we'll figure out how we'll liaison between the two groups, short of maybe coercing one of their members.
Okay.
Oh, coercing is fine.
Coercing. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, no, not really. I think just then, I do want to put that bug in your ear, that one step could be coming up with this kind of master canopy plan to really identify as many as we can now, places where we want to plant trees versus 10 or 20 at a time.
Well, as part of this Arbor Day, I mean, there are obviously ideal times to plant trees, right?
Fall.
And we're in one right now. We're just coming out of it, you know. It's going to get a little bit late. Early spring, right, is one of the times where you can plant trees.
But it's not good.
So,
And then the fall. But when do you ideally
We have been
plant
doing
trees?
2 per year, so one basically early spring, one late fall.
what
And we usually
we've
have done something on beautification day in the
Right.
spring because we can get so many volunteers.
Right. And so something that we talked earlier about that would work into this Arbor Day celebration is that they have access to a lot of seedlings and that they can go and donate them to people at the farmer's market with information how to plant them with the heart that we will have. And that way it gets our information out, their information out, maybe some
And
bodies.
some trees.
And some trees. And so that would be one more part of our Arbor Day celebration.
So right now for the spring, we're envisioning giving out whips, essentially, not actually trying to pull from the tree bank and
No,
plant
like
larger
little,
trees.
she has access
Right,
to,
because we
all the
haven't been
acorn.
able to come
Yeah,
up with
many are
a city-approved location for this spring yet. I mean, I guess it could still happen. We are ready to give away some small trees at farmer's market. We'll probably do that. And
Yeah.
through the pharmacy. Last year, we donated the trees to the pharmacy that they gave away on Earth Day.
The only city-approved planting site that I know are for the larger trees, and that's the West State Street.
right, but this would be like for people to take home and,
No, I think that's
Oh,
brilliant. I'm just
yeah.
wondering, could we add on to it?
right.
The issue that we have in planting the trees that we have this spring is the budget for planting the trees.
Okay.
And the city has made the decision that they are going to contract out that work, which costs money to
Right.
the city, right?
Yeah,
But if you said, oh, well, we have volunteers
Right.
who could help plant trees,
right. To me, that's
then we
the,
could actually try and do that in the spring.
to me,
but
that's the ideal
But
relationship.
here's the problem. It's not the planting. The planting
Uh-huh,
is important,
yeah,
but it's keeping them alive through the hot summer and the droughts.
yeah.
So
Right.
But that actually, if we plant it, it reduces our maintenance costs significantly.
it increases it because you have to go to each individual tree.
No, okay, so I'm talking about West State Street, which is where they want to plant. If we had volunteers who said on Athens Beautification Day, we could plant 30 trees at West State Street, which is already an approved place, then all we would have to pay the external contractor is to maintain the trees through the summer. And because they're all co-located, that price isn't actually that high. So instead of $150 per tree, it would probably be $50 per tree. We would save $100.
As long as we got a definite, I mean, as long as somebody is really going to water those trees because.
No, that's the contractor. The contractor we would pay them $50 per tree to water. Do we have volunteers as part of Athens Beautification to plant big trees? It might be trying to do too much too quickly and we just stay with the whips and, you know, do the hearts and
Well,
that's the great
I think
thing.
that for this year, because April is just a couple weeks away,
Yeah.
that partnering with you and doing the whips, just,
This year makes sense.
yeah, you know, and also making a really nice brochure that we can give out that talks about trees in the city, when they do whips, or how to take care of it, and then you can give us hearts, and then we can plant
Soil
our
and
celebration.
water has really good information for planting whips.
I have made stuff for
Yeah,
other
the
cities.
information is out there.
Yeah,
Oh,
let's,
okay.
let's
Yeah.
just, yeah,
We can
yeah.
package it. That would be an awesome one.
I do need to say something though, because this is part of being a Tree City USA, document what you do. So somebody, when Mary's out there giving the trees away at the farmer's market. Somebody needs to take a picture of her doing that.
We have photos. We
Good.
document how many we plant, where we plant, what we plant.
Volunteer hours would be another one that would fit in there really well, yeah.
Thank you.
So does I think that sort of cooperation, does that make sense?
Of course,
Brilliant.
that's the ideal relationship for us.
If we need a vote on it, I think we vote on it.
Well, I think let's, let me and Mary work on a memorandum of understanding so that we can nail everything out, so we have no
And then we'll
difficulties.
vote on
And
that.
then we'll vote on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's awesome.
All
Yay.
right, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Very much appreciated.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Someone with a
Okay.
lot of good knowledge.
So I'm going to assume that after our discussion with Mary, that the other projects that have been identified are good to go for Arbor Day with the the ceremonial tree planting and the hearts. We talked about the hearts, cutting them out. Or we cannot talk about them.
No, tell us, why don't you step us through
Okay.
the plans and
Well, something.
tell us where you need resources.
Okay. I was homeworked with doing a simple Arbor Day celebration. So I thought that we could celebrate with maybe some of the large trees from Menards, because they are, and plant a celebration trees in honor of COVID people who were victims of COVID, our healthcare people who are heroes, and Black Lives Matter, because those are the things that have influenced and have impacted our community so much, and I think it would be a really good way of bringing community members together.
So where would these trees
I
go
don't know.
and what budget would we use?
I don't know. That was the TBD that I put on that proposal. Whether it's at West State Street or something, I think that,
Yeah, where is
That,
that?
so West State Street is approved, but what we were waiting for is the construction. Is the construction done? So
I believe
more
it
trees
is
can go in?
complete, Yes.
so we can have a ceremony and the mayor can do it, and I do,
How many?
well, I don't know. That is
What were
up
you-
for
what was in your
discussion too.
thought?
I don't know. I mean, I would
Visualize.
love to see nice, beautiful trees planted in honor of the amazing people that we are surrounded with.
Okay,
And that's
so
all I really care
here,
about.
okay, so I'm a logistics gal, so here
Right.
we go. If we're going to do this in April, we have to contact Menards 4 to 6 weeks ahead of time to see if we can get the trees.
Correct.
So that literally means either the time has passed or you're going to be doing it in late April or May. And then you're going to have to decide, is that an ideal time to plant a tree? Yeah, it's getting late, but
And they're
if
big
it's
trees.
just a few, you might be able to baby it and make it work.
Or, if it's not from Menards, we can find other, I'm sure lots of people probably donate money for a tree in honor of our healthcare people. So I don't know
That
where,
can be arranged.
That's, takes a while.
I think that,
But then we also have to decide if we have $5,000 in our budget, are we willing to release some of the money that we have in order to plant those trees? And I would be in favor of it. I would say yes. As long as it goes to West State Street, which is the mayor's priority for this year for planting. So if you would like, I am happy to interface with Dave to get the trees, if you tell me how many trees you want, and if Shade Tree is willing to release $150 per tree
Right.
out of our budget.
Well, back to the spots. How many spots and where are they?
We
exactly?
have 20-something spots available. They're all on West State Street. And they're along the new parking areas. So on
Is there-
West State Street, by the ballpark, they put in a whole bunch of extended parking. And they want the trees to be on the north side of the parking. Is that correct, David? I believe it's the north side of the parking.
Is there someplace there could be a little grove?
It will be a line of trees, because they want the parking spaces to be shaded, and they
All-
just want the
all
uniform
those?
look.
that's all that's there? That's the only space, those are the only spaces
Those are,
there?
those are the spaces that have been identified next. That's the next priority. There are groupings of trees in other areas, but they want new trees around the new parking
Well,
lots.
what I was thinking is if we could have a little grove, sort of for the COVID kind of stuff, and then plant those maybe in the fall then when it's easier to take care of them along the, like maybe 5 trees for this project that we're talking about for April. I mean, we don't have that much time.
Yeah, I mean, you could do 5 trees, but I guess I would ask why not why don't just group them in one area, the parking area? I mean, putting them in the ballpark area in a grove in the middle of nowhere is not what the city's gonna wanna do because they want access sites.
Well, you know
What
what
you're
the city
saying-
wants and
what-
I don't, so
I
obviously.
think what you're
yeah.
saying is that having a grove is a little more dignified.
Yes.
For sort of thing than having a
Yeah.
lot of trees. And I
Well,
agree, so,
yeah.
maybe what we need to do is emphasize what Mary's group is going to do with, giving out, trees and everything, and we can do the heart, we love trees as the other part of it, and we can identify in the fall better places to plant a ceremonial tree.
Okay.
I think
That's right,
that-
because it doesn't have to be done at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that I agree. I don't think that having trees just along a parking strip is very ceremonial, so. And that would be fine. I think that those 2 projects together could be a very good
Yeah,
start with our baby steps with the Arbor Day sort of thing,
Okay.
sounds good.
okay? So, we'll do the hearts, which is the one that I really cared about. I've
I-
been wanting to
do
do
you
that for
need-
years.
Do you need somebody to help you cut out hearts, or are you
Well,
just taking that on?
You know, we've talked about that. I think that we can look at how much it costs to dye stamp them, and go from there. I don't think that's gonna be very much money.
Well, you could
Where
call
would
us
you
and help.
do these? Where would you hang them?
Okay. This idea is, you have tags that people get that says how much the tree is worth.
Yeah.
Well, Athens is different, and we can give out hearts. This is why we love our trees. People can hang them from different, I have a tree that I know I'm going to hang it. It has the most amazing spiral trunk that you would see in all of Athens. And I'm going to hang it on there. It says, it's a piece of art. And I think that going across Athens with the Arbor Day celebration, with doing market and all the Earth Day and Athens Beautification Day, we can get people out to really think about why they love our trees.
And is there a cost, and do we need a budget?
Well, I'm not sure how much a card is. We talked about this earlier, too.
Yeah, we talked about like the price tags
Price,
that like,
yeah.
you see on the mall
So-
in Washington DC.
You know,
I have in my yard a new swamp white oak that needs a heart.
that needs a heart. We actually
Put it on
talked
your
about this a few years ago about all the people who are volunteers who plant the trees. They should always leave a heart because they're doing it for a reason. And then people will I think people will treat trees with a heart on it a whole lot better than a tree without a heart. So everybody needs to love a heart. So,
Okay.
well, we can, Ann and I will talk about what we talked about before with the hearts and see how much it costs, and then I'll send it around. So, okay. Make sense?
It does. I just don't want you to have to pay for it, and Shade Tree doesn't have a budget, so.
We'll do it we can do it in tandem. We can do those sort of things. I don't think it's gonna be that much money, so. Okay?
Yep.
Last thing is the no mow May that, we have talked about. We talked about it last, meeting. This is something that the Bee City USA puts forward. We are a Bee City USA, city. So, I'd like to open it up whether we want to do, and recommend a no mow May. Idea here is, for pollinators, especially ones that are migrating and such, and they do, even bees, bees migrate. Some of the most important resources for them in the spring are things like dandelions and stuff that come up very early, and it would help if people didn't mow to allow for those sort of things to be accessed by pollinators. It's a program that is done by many communities across the states. And so I know that it is a late position on this one because it's almost May. Not really, but almost May. It's within 6 weeks.
What do we need to do to have it happen?
Well, we would need to ask council to change some of the wording of when weeds and grasses need to be mowed during certain seasons. So we can do it as an experiment through half of no mow.
But I mean, would we recommend to the city council, ask Ben to take it to city council? And
Right.
And this would also have to happen pretty soon, because if we were gonna have that as a modification to an ordinance, we'd have to go through the readings and
Right.
going through all that.
Well,
So we need-
and the
we
thing
need
would
4
be,
weeks.
if we recommended it tonight, we can go on Monday through council and through committee.
So here are my thoughts. There certainly is good research out there that says that when you do not mow, you do get more pollinators. And that's a good thing. The downside is that as soon as you start mowing, it basically starves those pollinators. And so you've created a situation where you've increased your pollinators temporarily, only to lose them.
well, that's not, the thing that happens with the dandelions is they're the only thing that's alive. There's nothing else blooming. By the time you mow them, other
Yeah.
things are blooming all over the place, so.
Well, actually, for us, that's not true. That would be in April, not in May. And the pollinators, their worst time is actually April for us because of where we are in the country.
Why
So
don't we
would
do
it
no-mow?
make more sense to do a no mow April?
Yes.
It would,
It really would.
but here's the situation too, is that the city gets hundreds of complaints when people do not mow.
But
And
April wouldn't be as bad. I mean,
April would not be as bad as May. May, the issue is that that's the most growth that you get for grasses. And you can easily get 8 inches. And so what happens is that, you allow your grass to grow, and then people go back in June and try and mow the grass, which is almost impossible to whack at something that's 8 to 10 inches. And then subsequently you get more complaints because people actually like, what they've done. And honestly, I would actually like to see people less mowing, just in general. I don't want a no-mow May. I'd like to have a lot of no-mow season. And
No-mow,
the
no-mow.
pollinator garden application is part of that. But I think that we have to be careful if we institute something that will cause code more issues. We don't want people
Maybe-
to actually
maybe
have a
the way-
negative reaction.
Maybe we need to wait a year and
Well-
just get some public opinion out and stuff.
But
public
what I
information.
would really like is, rather than the no mow May, is to do the 3-inch mow, which is where basically everybody should be maintaining their grass at 3 inches instead of 1.5 or 2 inches. One, your grass grows
So
better.
you want
I
a
do that. I know that.
minimum mow as opposed to a
I would
maximum mow.
love that. I would love that
Well,
because
that's-
it allows
we could do that.
dandelions to grow, and it keeps the pollinators going the entire year, keeps it under the code limit, and actually just creates a better lawn. People are going to be really excited when they notice that their grass is actually nicer when it's longer.
Yeah,
So,
I-
but it's an education thing.
I've been
Well,
telling
that's
my
why you do
neighbors
it.
for years.
I
I mean,
would
that's,
just-
that's why we do these Bee
Yeah.
City, we're Bee City, why? Because we want to educate. And so,
But you guys
doing-
have to remember, okay, we are the tree commission.
right,
So I love this. We all agree that yes, the world has too much lawn. I'd love
Yeah.
to shrink lawns. Creating no mow areas are great. But as a tree commission, you guys, Dave laid out really good focus for us this first year. Focus on those easy things, and then you'll be able to have some successes, like do Arbor Day, feel good about that.
I totally agree with you. But maybe a way to compromise is if we're doing the pollinator gardens, if we're doing the certifications for the pollinator gardens, that's when we can give them the education about mowing.
Yeah.
That's where I think it belongs, because that is going to be part of our mandate.
Yeah.
But I agree, yeah.
But I think
Not
it's
too much
still
spread.
possible that we could backtrack for next year and say, no mow for 1 month, like March is when you first start, pretty soon. So we no mow in April, and that wouldn't be too bad.
And that makes sense to
And that's
adjust
kind
it.
of like a way to get people's attention.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is not mowing for 1 month is not nearly as good as mowing
And- but I mean,
correctly
that's-
for the rest of it.
And that's how we get their attention to do 3 inches.
Oh, I thought, yeah, well, or we do it through the pollinator garden certification, which is actually part of our mandate. But yeah,
Right. In fact, I handed in my
But
application, so now we have 2 people.
here's my bigger thing. If the city would just mow properly,
Yeah.
that would be a big start. I think that, when we expect the community to do things, but the city itself isn't doing it, that doesn't make sense.
There's a lot more, and as you drive through the countryside, there are a lot more areas that are no longer being mowed along the roadways. And it really looks good. I mean, it's really helping a lot, I think.
Okay. Any other questions? So I think from this evening, we're going to go forward with the Arbor Day program that Mary described. Our Hearts program, we're going to look at the no-mow for next year, for no
Yeah, we
mow
gotta
April.
keep it on
Yes.
top of things. So that
And I think that with the pollinator program, that there's some other things that we can do that we need to look at in the future about publication and PR.
The
Education.
PR is the big thing.
Yes,
I told,
and
Yeah.
very much so.
But
I
don't
told
want to do
David
that
I
until
need
you
to-
actually have your certificates.
Yeah.
Then we push.
Yeah.
I told
So-
Dave when I came in that we should probably take a minute to critique the application, because you and I both have done one now. And I
I
think
got
that's the
Nancy's
only
here.
one.
Oh, Nancy's is here?
Yeah.
Oh, goody, we can look at it.
Right. So it's, what I found is that it's really hard to do write everything on the form. So I was thinking maybe if
Having
there could be-
tick boxes,
Huh?
having boxes to tick.
Well, I thought maybe they could do it online. If we could do it online and then print out at the
Well-
code office.
The code office wanted to have a fillable PDF, but because of shortages, I just grabbed it and put it online as a regular PDF for now.
Well,
Yeah.
but I mean, that would be.
But the ideal thing is that it
I
will be a
find-
fillable
I
PDF.
I attached a piece of paper.
Well, that's what I did too, and that's what you're actually, I think, supposed to do.
But I
is-
mean, what I did was I typed the list.
Right.
Rather than putting it.
Oh, and then put it, yeah,
Because just not enough room
right.
and my handwriting is
And,
crummy.
well, and there
I see.
are some other program projects that have really nice forms, and so maybe we can look at those. So,
Yeah.
Well-
okay. Thank you. Any other information or agenda items?
Real quick, I want to make sure for Tree Commission Academy, the dates are July 19th and 20th.
Yep.
July 19th is what?
July 19th and July 20th are the Tree Commission Academy dates with the city of Logan.
Right.
And it'll be at Bishop
July.
Gardens.
And tentatively, you have me that I want to participate in that.
Oh, sure, yes, thank you. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I had the right, that you guys had,
What
saved
date
that
did we
date.
have it before?
And what's that?
What date had you originally said?
I think originally we talked about doing it this 26th and 27th.
Okay, I'll look then.
And now it's the 19th and 20th?
Yeah, but I think, I can't remember, yeah, it's the 19th and 20th.
Okay.
That's what to remember. And May 6th is Tree City USA
Well, let me
in
talk about this.
Zanesville.
Can we have her come?
Thank you. Okay, any other
I
questions?
have one thing. Back in October, I think it was, before the pandemic. Yeah, October 26th, the Athens City Poet Laureate had written a thing about the tree commission and trees. It was very nice.
Oh, cool.
And I saved it, or I thought I had thrown it away actually, because I told Roxanne I'd bring it in and show it to her. And I couldn't find it, but I found it again. And I thought maybe when things are settled down, we can wait maybe till April, maybe till May, and invite her to come. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Do you remember reading that? Okay.
And just one last reminder, the city is supposed to appoint somebody besides you, David, from the landscaping part to try and attend Shade Tree
Yes, that's correct, yes.
meetings, so we should push for that.
Who's that to?
It could be Catherine Ann, it could be Andrew Chicky, it could be several people. Andy Stone said that he was going to try and appoint somebody and have them here.
But I mean, what is their role?
Their role is to be an interface between Shade Tree Commission and landscape, the city part of landscaping,
that's a good idea. Yeah, that's good.
whereas David does code.
Yeah, 'cause
They were going to
it's-
split the responsibilities.
It's so much work on their shoulders, all the stuff that we talk about.
Yeah, but it's helpful to have them here so we can just talk.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're adjourned.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, wait,
Wait.
we did not approve the minutes.
Oh, okay. Everybody,
Is anybody willing to,
I
make a motion to
motion that
approve.
we approve.
and anybody willing to second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes approved.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Phew.